Hey everybody, welcome into the Victory Sports Network. I am your host, Jason Dannelly. And as always, a very big thank you to all of our sponsors, people that help to make this show possible. That being, of course, Huddle, who provides us with access to game film each and every week for the Victory Sports Network, so we can analyze the games that we're not able to see in person. And also to the Urban Edge Network, providing live streaming broadcasts of NAIA and HBCU events all season long. Be sure to get on your app store, whether that's on your phone or your TV, and download the Urban Edge app now. It'll give you an opportunity to see a ton of NAIA sporting events throughout the season, and especially NAIA football. All right, I'm Jason. Let's go ahead and let's get the show started here as Pat and I get ready to talk a little bit about preseason NAIA football.
NAIA football is the true version of what college football is supposed to be. And it is the best classroom experience an 18 to 22-year-old male can have. One of the most valuable parts of a college education is that experience. It's life in a microcosm, and it's just something special for a young man to have to experience.
And don't you let a moment go without thinking about what's there for you to reach out and grasp.
This is the Victory Sports Network, and you are watching NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. I'm the aforementioned Jason Dannelly. That is Pat Donley, former offensive coordinator in the world of NAIA football at the University of St. Francis, two-time national champion and offensive coordinator of the year. Pat, how's it going, man?
Listen, it's August, baby. You know what that means? Games this month.
Yes.
This year, before we know it. Best time of the year.
Hey,
nothing better than August, late August, getting into the season.
The first NAIA kickoff of the season by time zone. It's not an NAIA versus NAIA game, but it's just down the road from you. Got Marion taking on the University of Indianapolis, 6 o'clock Eastern on August 28th. You can buzz on down and maybe see that one.
Might have to try. I've got some friends on both sides. Not going to pick, sides necessarily, but be there as a spectator, hopefully. If not, I'm going to try to watch that game, stream it certainly. But it's going to be a good one. Two great football teams, and it's going to be a lot of fun. An early season contest in the Indianapolis area.
Yeah, I will 100% be streaming that one to check it out because UIndy, pretty good D2 school. They'll be rated this year. Marion going to be rated this year, and we'll get into that here momentarily. A lot of great NAIA football games. We'll talk about some of those on this program. The real reason for this program, as Pat knows and as probably the viewers know because we've been promoting it, we're going to unveil the top 99, the NAIA 99 top NAIA football players as we head into the 2025 season. There's a lot of them. And Pat, I'll be honest, as I was putting together this list, there's a number of names where I'm like, gosh, I'm probably going to get crap for leaving that guy off. But, I started this last year of only doing 99, so I'm sticking with it this year.
Could do 150 easily, I'm sure. But yeah, you got to make it 99. It's catchy, obviously. But so many great players. And I think some of even the specific positions, heck, there's probably 10 or 12 guys at least that deserve mention. And it's one of those tough things. But I am really excited about the teams this year and these unbelievable players that we're about to talk about.
100%. One of the first things that we want to do here on the show is go through a little something that we released, or I released a little bit late last week here on the Victory Sports Network, and that's the Victory Sports Network preseason top 25. Now, I rated all 94 teams. We're not going to go through that on this show. You can go to victorysportsnetwork.com to find out where I rated your NAIA team to start the season. But here's the top 25, and that top 8 there, Pat, pretty solid group, and I didn't have much of a hard time landing on these teams for spots 1 through 8. Of course, Grandview, defending national champion, player of the year back. How can you can't put anybody but them at number 1?
No question. Obviously, new head coach, which is a familiar face with E.J. Peterson taking over, former defense coordinator. Alumni, it's going to be exciting to see how the Vikings look. Again, National Player of the Year returning. Man, oh man, what a great football team, what a great culture. And I would anticipate E.J. Peterson continuing that success and that same the winning ways of the Vikings. I'm excited for that football team again this year.
Yeah, EJ Peterson, no stranger to the program. He's been there. He knows what has been set and the task that's in front of him. It's going to be an awesome first look at what a Coach Peterson-led Vikings team will be this year as they defend their national championship. Kaiser, I put in at number 2. They had a lot of losses, and I think they might take some bumps this year, but I think you got to put them at number 2 just for the pure fact that Shea Spencer is back at quarterback, and he's one of the most efficient quarterbacks we've seen in the NAIA lately.
Such a winner, such a great culture down there. I mean, this program has won since the inception. And Jason, this is one of those programs that may be a revolving door a bit with personnel. But guess what? They're going to find good people to replace those that leave. And you've seen that now this is what, year 8 of the program coming up here for Kaiser. And have been successful every single year. And it's just the hotbed of talent in South Florida. It makes sense that they're going to reload and be right in national championship contention once again.
August 30th, we get to see number 3 play number 4 in NAIA football this year as Benedictine will host Morningside. Benedictine, a lot of returning starters. They lose a little bit of firepower on the offensive side of the ball. Morningside, a little bit the same. They lose some firepower on the defensive side of the ball, quite a bit back on the offensive side. These two teams locking up in early August. I mean, you want to save it for the playoffs, but hopefully they'll play again in the postseason. Benedictine and Morningside, I got zero issue fighting anybody that doesn't think that they should be 3 and 4. Some people probably think they should be higher, but that's a solid top 4 right there.
No question. What an exciting matchup. I'd say what a marquee matchup in week 1. This has really become a rivalry, Jason. Played in the regular season, played the national championship back in 2018. This is a rivalry game, and we're seeing it week 1, which is so exciting.
Yeah, Coach Steve Ryan and Joel Osborne doing a great job making sure that they've got a good, high-quality non-conference game against one another to start every season. I hope they keep doing it in the future. It sounds like they might. It really sounds like they might, as long as they both can keep that August 30th or that week 0 open date available. We go to the Frontier Conference for number 5. Montana Western falls in there. Michael Palandri back at the quarterback position. Got a lot of weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Defense has got quite a few guys back. Going to be a solid team in the Frontier Conference, but that conference is so competitive. If they can, much like last year, hold on to their high rating and being in the top 4, top 5, that's advantageous for them. But, man, it's going to be treacherous in the Frontier, but I think Montana Western is the best team in that conference to start the season.
Don't disagree. Best quarterback coming back. High-powered offense, score a ton of points. And like you said, I think the deepest conference in NAIA football, certainly last year, and kind of all signs point to that maybe once again this year with returning starters, these quality programs gearing up, for another solid conference performance. You can look at 6 or 7 teams that are playoff worthy, Jason. Seems like every year. But yeah, Montana Western was the creme de la creme last year with a great group coming back, and all starts with Palandri. What a great player.
We go to number 6. We go to the Sun Conference for their second edition into the top 8 here. St. Thomas out of Miami Gardens, Florida. They come in at number 6. They have got quite a bit of talent back on the offensive side of the ball. Wide receiver David Haynes. You got Keely Watson at quarterback. You got some really solid offensive linemen. The defense looks pretty good. The main thing I look at this year with St. Thomas is this is the next step year for them. And are they ready to take the next step? So I'm excited for their conference matchup that they've got in the Sun Conference, obviously with Kaiser, but they've got a pretty treacherous non-conference schedule sitting in front of them as well. They're dodging no one, and if they win out, you're going to see why St. Thomas is and possibly could be one of the next great programs in NAIA football.
Jason, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you look at the history of the new programs that have success right away. St. Thomas is in that conversation, but this is about that time frame where you see those programs like the Indiana Wesleyans, like the Kaisers, like the Marians, like the St. Francis's over the years that are new football programs that start from the ground floor. About that year 5, 6, 7 is when they take those big steps. And that's that time for St. Thomas. And I totally agree with you. Unbelievable group coming back, great coaching staff, great recruiting location once again, and building an unbelievable culture there in South Florida. So really looking forward to their season.
Indiana Wesleyan comes in at number 7 out of the Mid-States Football Association's Mid-East Division. They appear to be head and shoulders above everybody else in that division, but there could be somebody possibly jump up and get them this year. And they're dodging nobody on the non-conference side, as they're going to take on Kaiser early on in the season at home in another great NAIA football battle. We'll see a top 7, according to my ratings, battle between those two squads as they get set to duke it out there in Marion, Indiana. And Indiana Wesleyan, they're a team that we've seen start so strong, play so well early in the season, but they've got to hold it together for a full 14, 15 game schedule here if they really want to become one of the elite teams in NAIA football.
Jason, we said all last year, especially early season, may have been one of the best, if not the best team all the way through about the midway point of the season. I mean, absolutely blowing the doors off, great football teams, and had a bit of an injury bug and just kind of lost steam as the year progressed. And like you said, maybe a little bit of luck to stay healthy, and maybe, obviously starting out fast is important, but again, try to sustain as much as we can and make a deep run, because this team and this program is on the cusp of great things. Just have to get over that hump in the playoffs.
Yeah, and then you've come into a team with like Georgetown here at number 8. Georgetown is a team that I look at what they've got coming back, and I kind of go, geez, they've got some big holes to fill on the defensive side of the ball. They've got Darius Neal back at running back. They got Sleneker back at the quarterback position. Offensive line graduate. So this is where I kind of start getting into that. I'm putting them at number 8. Out of respect and where I think the program is, but could they be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? That's all very possible. This Georgetown team, Pat, they're very good. They've been in the postseason. They're a quality program. Coach John Perrin's going to get his chance to put the stamp on the program this year.
I think top 7 is a no-brainer. I think that 8 spot, Georgetown, like you said, a little bit of a question mark. Obviously, new head football coach. Some holes to fill at the same time. If you look at your list, we get down to that at some point. I think all the way down to 15, 16, 17, 18, all of those may be interchangeable up to number 8. In the way I look at it, there's a lot of teams that are on the rise. There's a lot of teams that are getting back that maybe have been historical programs that are getting back into that national scene once again. So I think top 7 are absolutely locked. And that 8 spot, again, I'm high on Georgetown, but there's a lot of great teams about those next 10 slots on that preseason top 25.
Yeah, when we turn the page here, you kind of look at it, and this is what we're talking about, that next group of the top 25. Could you say Texas Wesleyan is 8, Georgetown's 9? Yep. Okay, Absolutely. I'd listen to you. I'm not going to sit here and beat my fist and tell you give you a 2-hour dissertation as to why they're not. No, they're pretty close. And, same with Northwestern at 10, Friends at 11, Montana Tech at 12, and as you see down the list there, I mean, this is a pretty solid group for your top 16. If I'm a program that might be a little bit mad at Jason Dannelly for his top 25 on this list, I'll let you guess, Pat. Of this list from 8 to 16, which one of these programs do you think has got maybe a little bit of a bone to pick with me as to where they think they should be higher?
I don't have an answer, because I think you're spot on here. But again, like I mentioned, I think they're all in that same category.
Mm-hmm. I think as a program and as a fan base, I'd listen to their argument. I would tell them I don't think they're right.
Northwestern?
But I would listen to an argument from Friends University.
Okay.
Because they, last year's national champion, they played them the toughest out of anybody for the entire year. And they're not in that top 8, they're not in that, they fall in at number 11. I could listen to them say, hey, we should, we played those guys the best. We got a lot of guys coming back. We should be a little higher than that 11 spot. But the thing I like about early season polls, they have a fun way of just working themselves out, Pat, because if you win, you're going to eventually move up. If you lose, you're going to drop. Unless you're losing to a, D1 FCS or a high D2 school, you're going to drop after losses.
Right. And we heard Joe Woodley talk about it, Jason, head coach of last year's national champion, said they took one for the team having to play Friends. My goodness, what a difficult offense to prepare for. And again, you're talking one of the greatest defenses in NAIA history, had some struggles with that great offense, and it's so unique with the triple option. So I don't disagree with you. They may have a gripe. But again, win the league and get yourself to postseason, get that first round bye, and you're off and running. So it does have an opportunity, this all working out, because it is a playoff system that has expanded, and a great opportunity for these programs to get themselves to the postseason.
Yeah, when I look at this slide here too, I also look at Texas Wesleyan, and they're a team that we saw get through the regular season last year undefeated, have to play Benedictine, who we knew was a good team and was a play away from making it to the national championship game. That's the team that eliminated Texas Wesleyan last year. Texas Wesleyan really has taken the attitude this year of, you know what, we are going to go out there and we are going to make sure that we are prepared and we play, some of the absolute top talent that's out there in football, so that we can be prepared for a better run at the postseason. So their non-conference this year, I think, is going to prepare them very well for the NAIA Championship Series. They're going to be playing Division I FCS. Granted, they're a new program, but they're going to be playing the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. So that's on their schedule. They're, of course, going to be playing Lindsey Wilson again this year in their non-conference schedule. And then late in the season, they're playing Mary Hardin Baylor. So nobody can say a thing about Texas Wesleyan not trying to improve their schedule to make their team better this year. And even if they drop one of those games, I think it makes them a better team as we head through the NAIA football season.
Jason, I feel like Texas Wesleyan and St. Thomas are kind of in the same boat to some level, where this is that kind of that breakout year. Again, Texas Wesleyan had a tremendous season last year, but again, they get into a game with Benedictine and just kind of a little bit overwhelmed. I think just the talent, the speed in that game, but I think it was a great learning experience for them. And like you said, playing the non-conference schedule, obviously playing, their tremendous league as well is going to prepare them for that next step. They're on that cusp once again, very similar to St. Thomas, in my opinion.
We're going to get to the unveiling of the NAIA 99 here momentarily. We want to get through one more slide here after this of the top 25. I want to talk about a few of the other teams on here just real briefly. Montana Tech, they've got a lot of people that they've got to replace from last year's squad that made a run into the playoffs. You look at Baker University, they've got a quarterback back, some really good defensive players, some nice guys on offense as well. They've got to find a way to make sure they keep Jules Gard healthy, because that was evident in the postseason last year when they had to play without him. Marian University is the team that kind of jumps up into the ratings this year. They were right around the top 25 at the end of last season. But when I look at what they've got coming back, they've got a quarterback back, they've got running back, they've got a lot back on the defensive side of the ball, a lot back on the offensive side of the ball. I kind of feel like they're a team that the way they were performing at the end of last season and what they've got coming back, they've kind of have got themselves that jump here to start the season. Mid-American Nazarene, they're going to have a new head coach this year, new quarterback. There's going to be a lot of questions at MNU, but they've been a quality program for some time. I think just based on what they did last year and what they've got coming back, you put them at 15, you see what they're doing. And kind of the same with Dickinson State. You put them at 16, you see what they're going to do this year. They graduated a lot of talent last year. So a good group here in this segment of the top 25.
No question about it. And again, I think they all could be, argued in interchangeable fashion from 8 all the way down to 16, in my opinion, Jason.
Moving to the last half of the top 25, or last third of the top 25, here's how they land. Ottawa, Arizona, going to have a new head coach in there. Of course, he's coming over from St. Thomas as their offensive coordinator, so we're going to be seeing what Coach Riley is going to be able to get done out there. We go to Campbellsville at 18. Your Fighting Tiger. I don't know if you could say that, though.
I can't really. I'm playing my alma mater here, my former player here. Week 1, which I'm excited about watching. Yeah, I jumped on the bandwagon last year of the Fighting Tigers, but yeah, they're playing my Cougs, man. I'm not sure I can't root for the Tigers against my alma mater. That's for sure.
Yeah, the rest of the season, yeah, you can get behind them.
Absolutely, I'm on board.
Southeastern falls in at 19. They too are, and granted, they've been around longer than Kaiser and St. Thomas, but they're that third team in the Sun Conference. They were on the verge of the postseason last year. They need to take another step. They've got to beat a St. Thomas. They've got to beat a Kaiser. They need to win all their non-conference games and get themselves, into postseason contention. Southern Oregon at 20. I like what they've got coming back, and their running back Gunnar Yates. They've got a solid defense coming back as well, Pat.
I agree. Yeah, I love Southern Oregon. We saw them win so many big football games last year in the gauntlet that was the Frontier Conference. So think the world of them. Think the world of their coaching staff. They did a great job. Again, it's just one of those things. Week in and week out in that league, you got to bring your A game, or you drop a game or two, Jason, puts you in a tough spot, to get in that that playoff scenario around that first round of the playoffs to get yourself in unless you win the league.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one in the Frontier. Southern Oregon got a solid squad coming back. You go to Southwestern at 21, who played very well last year, got into postseason, beat St. Francis in the first round, went to Indiana Wesleyan, played them very tough before dropping that game on the road. They lose a lot on offense and on defense. So I put them in here because I think they are a deserved top 25 team. And I'm a little skeptical. Like, could they be 17? Maybe. Could they be 25? Maybe. They're that team I've got to see play a little bit more this year before I feel like I know what's going to happen with them. Same with Concordia. Concordia graduates a lot on offense and on the defensive side of the ball, but played very well at the end of last season. I think is deserved of being in the top 25 and being talked about as a potential dark horse in the Great Plains Athletic Conference. Dordt loses a ton on defense. And this is the one that I know Dordt fans will probably come at me for only probably have them at 23. And I think I picked them fourth or fifth in the Great Plains Athletic Conference preseason article. And a lot of that is just simply based on so much of what they do with their team and for their offense to be successful, as you know, Pat, is through the strength of their defense. And if that defense is takes a little bit of a step back, some of those close games that they win, they could be a little closer. They could become losses. So that's why I've got them down at 23 as opposed to a little higher in the rating.
Yeah, I think 17 through 25, Jason, we got to talk about Carroll and Reinhardt here. I think every one of these teams are in contention for a postseason run, possibly in a conference championship run in their respective conferences, but they got to prove it to us. I mean, it's one of those things. Again, there's some holes to fill. There are teams that are right on the cusp. I think quality programs, good coaching staffs, all those things. And a lot of times they're in tough leagues too, so they got to beat some of the teams that have been established in the last few years, but I think the 17 through 25 are a great group of programs. But again, they got to show us something. And again, they're going to get an opportunity here in early weeks of the season here to see where they are. But certainly, to use your line, keep your eye out on these teams. Keep your eye.
Keep your eye on them.
Yeah.
Carroll College comes in at 24. This is a team that graduates a very experienced quarterback, but through transfers and through guys coming up in the program, they're not going to be throwing a freshman in to start at quarterback this year. They've got some good experience. They've got some good athletes in there. So I really look forward to seeing like how Carroll kind of progresses this year and if they can get back towards the top of the Frontier Conference. And Reinhardt is the team that I think last year, I don't want to say they took a step back, but, they had some tight games, some close games that they lost. And, you end out with, an average record. I look at what they've got coming back this year, and I think they are the strongest number 25 team in the country. And this is a team that I think we will see if they get through their non-conference schedule. We're going to see them slowly climb in the polls and get up there because I think what they've got coming back, Pat, could be pretty special, and they could be a team to keep your eye on, if you will, in NAIA football.
No doubt. Definitely put them on that list of this group that definitely keep your eye on because a lot of traditional powers, a lot of teams that were coming off great seasons last year that have to reload. Like you said, Reinhardt, Carroll College, traditional powers. I mean, Reinhardt's been a great program for a long time since the inception, and Carroll is there anyone that's more of a blue blood than Carroll College? So, those are the kind of programs I was talking about earlier. Just those teams that are getting back in that national scene once again that are right on that cusp.
Yeah, when you look at Reinhardt, their non-conference schedule, it's Florida Memorial, Cumberland University, Southeastern, Lindsey Wilson. That's four really solid games that they've got, and if they come into that 4-0, watch out.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we got through that. Why is anybody watching this program? We probably wrap her up now. I got through the top 25. Who really cares about the top 99 players in NAIA football, right, Pat? Wouldn't you do anything here, right? No. So this was an exhaustive list, and a lot of people may question, how I came up with it, and just, direct your bullets at me on this one. Pat had no input on this. I shared it with him for the show so he would know who we're talking about. And obviously he knows these players a lot like I do. But this was really me going through, all-American lists, all-conference lists, statistical lists, suggestions, from coaches. And there's a few things that aren't included on the NAIA 99. Number one, sorry, special teamers. There's no kickers, punters, or long snappers on here. And the reason being, there's so many solid players at the other positions. I wanted to focus on offensive and defensive players because, especially with kickers and punters, so much of that is statistical. And you can look at the statistics and see who some of the top special teams players are that are coming back. So that's number one. Number two, did not consider any transfers in this. So you needed to be an NAIA football player last year. There are some really good NAIA football players that we're going to see this fall. They'll probably become All-Americans that I can tell you right now are going to have a major impact on their team, but they didn't play last year, so I'm not including them in the NAIA 99. So I just want to clear that up before we get out there. It says, well, some team, they got this transfer from this guy, and any guy's going to rush for 1,500 yards this year probably. Yeah, you're right, but didn't play last year. Sorry.
Hey, Jason, real quick here. I wanted you to go back, and we could have done this together. We could have just gone back and watched all of our huddle tape and found the best long snapper.
Easily.
Just watch. We'll get the stopwatch out and see how fast the thing gets back there, and we just evaluate who the best long snapper is. That'd been funny. I love specialists. They're so fun. When I was coaching,
you and I on a stream for 6 hours just staring at like long snapper cut-ups.
Long snappers speed. Get that thing back there. Honestly, when I was coaching, they're my favorite guys. I would mess with the specialist all the time because they're a different breed, as we know. But I love those guys. The snapper, the punter, and the kicker are just fantastic people. Most times on college football teams, that's for sure.
Again, my apologies to the specialists. You're not on the list. So let's get to the list. Let's start it off right away with what I consider to be the athlete position. The athlete position to me is somebody that is going to play probably primarily at one position, but their contributions are going to either be statistically not not statistically viable always towards that position, and they help the team out in other ways. And I look at Cavante Baker from Friends. Obviously, he's their starting quarterback. He's a rushing quarterback. It's really tough to compare him to a guy like Zach Chevalier, to Shea Spencer, to the guys that are going to sling it around the yard a lot more when he's going to throw the ball. If he throws it 5 times in a game, that may be a record. If he throws it 3 times, that's probably about where he's at. So that's why I put him on athlete instead of quarterback, just simply for the fact that that's how he falls in. Lennox Brown, wide receiver for Morningside. Reason you put him on here is, yes, he's going to be a wide receiver, but they're going to get him in a little bit of wildcat. They're going to put him in some other spots on the field where he's going to be more than just a wide receiver contribution. Amon Williams from Pikeville, same thing. Running back out of the backfield. He's catching passes. He's rushing for yards. He's doing a lot of different things. And same thing with Tyrus McKee, kind of a return specialist, offensive juggernaut, if you will, for Reinhardt. These are guys that are all, back to help their team. And obviously they're going to have a position, but I put them at athlete because their contribution is going to be a lot wider than just a single position.
Couldn't agree more, Jason. I mean, these guys really, you can almost count them as playmakers. Shiny toys for coaches to have, put them in different spots to showcase their talents. Obviously, Cavante is a much different situation because he's touching the ball every play. But yeah, I mean, he's essentially a glorified running back that takes the snap and in that system and runs it so well. And what a weapon. And Lennox Brown, like you said, can line up many, many places. I guarantee he's going to be throwing the football at some point from behind center in some package or reverse passes. He's going to catch, he's going to run it, he's going to throw it. Can do it all. Played quarterback 2 years ago quite a bit for Morningside. Now transitioned to a really solid receiver. And Williams and McKee are the guys that, again, they're going to find creative ways to get the ball to. Williams is a guy, I mean, you see Pikeville, Jason, and spread formations, empty formations, putting Williams in the slot, getting him down the field. And he's not just catching, balls out of the backfield in a 3 or 4 yard area. They're taking the ball down the field with it too. So, guys that are multi-talented, that are weapons, that are fun for coaches to have at their disposal to utilize their skill.
Yeah, everybody wants one of those guys on their team. They want somebody that they can say, well, he's not a wide receiver. He's not a running back. He's not really just a return. He kind of does everything. I almost classify it back to the Patrick Creighton position.
Yeah, sure.
Wide receiver. Oh, guess what? They want to run the ball. They're going to bring him in. Oh, he's going to actually sling it a little bit too. He's going to throw the football here too. So I kind of classify it back to the early 2000s and thinking of guys like him.
It's called get the guy that ball, or get the ball to that guy as much as you possibly can to make you look good as a coach. That is the best athlete on a roster. Get it in his hands. Get in his hands. Let him touch it.
All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Look at defensive back. So we've got a good group coming back here, and you start to look at some of these names, and you go, okay, so that's kind of some of what gets their defense going there. You look at Orlandi from Carroll. He's a guy that was a first-team all-conference guy last year. Same with Henson out of Concordia, Moses. Almost all these guys are first-team all-conference. Some of them returning All-Americans. I look at, Jalen Speed, a guy from Southern Oregon, maybe got overlooked a little bit last year out of the Frontier Conference. He was a first-team all-conference defensive back, didn't really have any All-American accolades. But you go back and you look at what he did last year and you say, okay, he could be a real contributor this year. And then the Rogers kid at Texas Wesleyan, if anything, their defense needs to step up a little bit more, and he can be a guy in that secondary to really get it done.
A talented group, and the way the game has evolved, Jason, and the multiple formations and concepts, and especially taking the ball down the field the way the offenses do. I mean, defensive backs, there's such a premium on these players. They're hard to find at any level, and these guys are the best of the best, and they have to do everything, Jason. They got to tackle these big, physical running backs downhill. They got to cover the great speed on the perimeter, down the field. So it's such a difficult position to play, corner and safety. And these guys are the best coming into the NAIA this year.
I always look at defensive backs, and I feel bad for guys that have really good sophomore and junior seasons, because statistically, you look at them the next year, and you're like, oh, did they fall off? Like I look at the Moses kid out of Dakota State. He led the NAIA in interceptions last year. Is he going to have 7-8 interceptions this year? Maybe. Probably not, though. And the reason being is teams are going to go, yeah, we're not going to throw it that way. We're going to throw it that way. We're going to stay away from that guy over there. And statistically, he doesn't have as good of a, quote, senior season. Oh, he fell off. No, he just had fewer opportunities come his way because coaches were smarter.
No doubt. Coaches watch film. They're like, I'm not going to throw at that guy. That's not real smart.
It's like, wait a second. We could throw it at that guy, and he's got a pretty good chance of picking it off. Or we could throw it at that guy over there, and he's a redshirt freshman. Let's go to that guy. Let's take it off after that guy.
Exactly right.
All right, let's move on to the defensive line. You are checking out the NAIA 99 from the Victory Sports Network. On the defensive line, man, there is some talent here. And there were guys that I left off this list, Pat, that I was just like, man, I feel bad for doing that because it's a pretty solid list. Now, keep in mind, I will also say this, on some of these groups, as we get into like defensive line, offensive line, there's two slides. I probably should check to make sure. I'm pretty sure there's 2 slides on this one. Yes, there is. Okay. So before everybody freaks out and starts throwing stuff in the comments, how could I forget this? This is just slide 1 of 2 of the defensive linemen. Isaac Anderson, Benedictine, leads off that list, but I go down there to Jackson Filer at Grandview. He's back. He was an All-American last year. He was a force on that defensive line to be reckoned with. Same with Joshua King Bradley from Kansas Wesleyan and Zach Myers from Evangel. I mean, every single one of these guys, obviously all conference, returning All-American and all that. But I look at the Filer kid. I didn't rank these by best at the position. He might be the best defensive lineman. Well, he is the best defensive lineman in the NAI. If I'm ranking one, I'm going to say him.
Jason, watched him closely last year, obviously the playoff run, the national championship. He might be one of the best players, if not the best player in the NAI at his position. Obviously a defensive lineman, but as valuable as anyone to that great defense. Very, very impressed with him. I agree with you. He's the best player. I think the Cheeseboro kid's a heck of a player out of Carmel High School, Indiana Wesleyan University, heck of a player, senior coming back, big player. Love this group. And again, it's one of those groups that, maybe not get as much of the accolades at times, but are so important to the success of the defense. And, a guy like Filer, like you mentioned, Jason, was a absolute catalyst for their success in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, there's some really strong players on the front side of this list. The rest of the list, and this is just put in an alphabetical order by the team name, by the way, in case you haven't figured that out yet. The other half, the defensive lineman, you got Tyler Logo out there. Every bit as good, I think, as Filer. He was up for the Cliff Harris Award last year for the NAI's top defensive player. He did not win it, but he was up for it last year. You've got the street kid at Marion, Tristan Voss at Northwestern, and Jacob Dragsta. One of the only one of the only positions where you have 2 guys from the same team on the list. If that tells you how Northwestern's defensive line is going to be this year. And then Tabi Ibram at Southeastern University. He played very well last year. And Gabe Foster from Southern Oregon. Again, another defense player on here from Southern Oregon, kind of showing some of the strength that they've got coming back. But here's a solid group right here, Pat. Anybody that stands out to you?
There's two guys that have been there, it seems like forever at their universities. Lologo's been there forever at Kaiser, it seems like.
Yeah.
And then Dragster. I mean, those guys, Dragster, have been around forever, played in national championship games, and have been there for the successes of these teams. They've been huge parts of that. So, Logo's one of those guys. Logo is the guy in the middle, space eater type guy, big guy in the middle that's hard to run A gap to A gap because that guy's going to clog it up. And Dragster has been there, really, Jason, just like year 5 or 6 for him, and he's played like every year, it seems like. So, guys have been just stalwarts of those defenses for many, many years, coming back for, I'm assuming, 5th year. Guys, I think both of those guys are. So seem like they've been around forever. Great group again, and just continuation of that first page. But what a tremendous defensive line unit. Again, as deep as we've ever seen maybe in the NAIA. Just pass rush, big guys inside, kind of a good combination of everything there. But it's a talented group of those guys in front.
I think that we're really going to have to hammer on the NAIA, because I've seen a recent proposal from Division II to add just a true 5th year of eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think coming out of the whole COVID thing, we've seen guys playing 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Has it hurt the game? No, I think it's actually made the NAIA stronger. And if you've got Division II going that way, where you've got true 5-year people, we're going to need it at the NAIA level as well.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a typo on the next screen. My apologies, everybody, because of my sincere lack of attention to detail. These are linebackers, not defensive linemen. It's correct on the next screen. These are the linebackers. Okay, so here's the best linebackers in NAIA football as we move on to yet another level of the defensive side of the ball. Kramer Kid out of Baker, Lacombe out of Benedictine. You got Ellis Reed out of Campbellsville, John Argo and Cade Sheehy. The only other position group that I've got 2 guys from the same team on are linebackers at Grandview University. These guys are solid. You got Trishan Van out of Kaiser, and then Cam Rankins at Lindsey Wilson. This is a good, solid first half of the list. The second half, just to prove to you right there that I corrected my issue before I noticed it here. The other half of the linebackers, Fitzgerald out of Montana Western, Landry Phipps, out of Morningside, Chris Swain out of St. Xavier. I mean, you see the whole list there. There's a very solid group of linebackers here. Iona Purcell, Southern Oregon, had a tremendous season last year. He's back again, getting more strength on that defensive side of the ball for the Raiders out there. Linebacker overall, anybody that you're seeing on these 2 slides here, Pat, that stand out to you?
Well, the 3 guys that played the national championship last year, we know how important they were to their teams. I mean, you have Lologo in the front, then you have Vannon behind. Those guys were so good in the middle of that Kaiser defense. We know about Argo and Sheedy. Those guys were just, I mean, again, maybe one of the best, if not the best defense in AI history last year. As good as they were and dominant as they were to the national championship, those guys are an absolute juggernaut in that middle of the defense. Then, flipping over to the next page there, I'm going to listen to Coach Feminist when he says he's got a great one. And Chris Swain, I did see him play in person last year. He is a tremendous football player. Coach even said he's one of those guys that is loyal to St. Xavier University, probably could play at a higher level, but just a dominant player. And like you said, Purcell is a guy we watched a lot of Southern Oregon last year that really stands out in that great conference.
Yeah, solid group of linebackers here. One thing I do want to go back to on this linebacker slide, apologies again for the typo, on this linebacker slide, Cade Sheedy, Grandview. Is that name familiar to you at all? The last name?
Sheedy? Is it one of our cousins? No, kidding.
Do you remember a little defensive player from St. Ambrose University by the name of TJ Sheedy in the early 2000s?
Early 2000s? Yeah, maybe. I started coaching in 2004. Yeah.
I think he was 02, 03, so he might have been before
me. Yeah.
He was an All-American at St. Ambrose University. That is his dad.
How about that? Cool.
Yeah. So I love it. Like I'm now old enough and have been covering the NAIA long enough where guys that I picked for All-Americans, their kids are now playing NAIA.
Second generation. That's cool.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them I saw this year, because I've got some Facebook friends from back in the day. And I'm like, oh, my God, your kid's going to be a freshman in college this year. What happened to me? All right, let's move on again in the listing here of the NAIA 99. We go to offensive line, the big hogs up front. Pat, this was the toughest list for me to whittle down because there was probably another 5 guys I could have had on this list. and just tremendous players. And you look at some, I lied. There's another group that has dual players on it, but you look at some of the best teams in NAIA football, and then you look at this list and you go, oh yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, 2 from Benedictine, you got 2 from Grandview on this list. Friends is right there with 1, Baker's with 1. I mean, you look at top 25 teams. I mean, let's go to the other slide here. There's not, I mean, you got Taylor, Jonathan Grubbs, who was an All-American last year, on a team that's technically not rated, but otherwise you're looking at a full list of the top offensive linemen in NAIA football, and almost every one of them is playing on a top team. That's there's a reason for that.
There's a reason. It's not by accident, that's for sure. It's the old coach's cliche. It all starts up front, and it really does. And you see, I mean, you look at Grandview last year, Jason. They talk about the defense, and certainly it's one of the greatest ever, like I've mentioned about 3 times in this show now. But when you get down to it, when things got down to the Final Four, that offensive line really took over. And they were physical, and they beat up on a great Kaiser defense last year, a physical Kaiser defense, and that Grandview offensive line really set the tone in the national championship in particular. And yeah, like you said, look at all these players. Look where they're from. Top 25 guys, guys that are in contention for the national championship. And it really, Jason, we look at like All-American nominees. Those are coaches watching those offensive. Those are defensive line coaches and defensive coordinators. Watching those offensive linemen and evaluating them. They see their impact, and you got to take those coaches' word for it, because they're watching the tape week in and week out and seeing it's like, man, I'm watching this Malone kid from Texas. I mean, what a player! I mean, literally, and they're making those, they're making those recommendations, and you go back and watch. We get the all-22. We can watch some of these players, and you're seeing off the screen with their physicality and mobility. And like we talk about all the time, Jason, at this level, the NAIA offensive linemen typically are not going to be your 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" guys. They're going to be your 6'1", 6'2", maybe 6'3" at the largest sometimes. But they're tremendous players, just a little bit short to play at a higher level. But they are tremendous players. So, and we definitely have a group like that this year in the NAIA with the offensive line in this group.
Yeah, see the full group there as we run through them: Palmer, Beckham, Hinton, Watkins, Wartick, Timmons, Pretty, Easton Lewis at Kansas Wesleyan, Rashawn Wells at Marion. Hey, going back to Kansas Wesleyan has got a couple guys on this list. They had defensive linemen in the Bradley kid. You've got Easton Lewis here, and they got another guy that's going to be on the list a little bit later on. They're not in the top 25. They've got a new head coach this year, and I think they're a team that I've got earmarked. It's like, okay, let's see how they do early in the season. They could be one to definitely watch as well. Going through the rest of the list there, you see the top offensive linemen in NAIA football. Hard to put my finger on just one guy that you could say is the best in the country. He might be on the team that isn't in the top 25, that being Jonathan Grubbs at Taylor. He was a high All-American last year. They've got him back again this year. Run style offense there, chance to kind of really showcase how he can move. The Trojans have got a really good one there on the offensive line.
Good football team, good physical team. And again, like you said, it's an option system, a little different, more spread option, but it is run centric. And that is a very, very good physical football team. And I'm excited for them this year to see what they're going to do.
We continue to move onward in the NAIA 99 as the top NAIA football players in the country are in front of us, get in front of us. I'm trying to see what my slide is here. Okay, we'll get to the next. I was trying to be tricky and unveil it, and then I couldn't read it because my monitor is too small there. Running back. As a guy that went into NAIA football, Pat, as a running back, this is a list that's near and dear to my heart. The top returning backs. Back in the day, you'd probably see Jason Dannelly on this list. No, you wouldn't.
Because they moved you to linebacker right away.
They moved me to linebacker for a reason. It's like, oh, no, that guy's really good. Let's make him play not the position he's good at. Yeah. No, top running backs in NAIA football right here. This is a great list. I mean, you really get excited. I love running backs. I love running the ball. You're kind of a throw the ball guy. I look at these guys and I just start going, I just think of individual performances from each one of them last season and just think, oh, wow, like it's going to be cool to see that guy, play again this year. You got Witherspoon, you got Pino, you got Neal, you got Whitwell, Luke Armstrong from Kansas Wesleyan. And then I get down to Kaiser, Jaden Miller, a guy that stepped up, had to play and get snaps last year through transfers and now through graduation. He's going to be the featured back at Kaiser. He's the guy that people are going to be keying on. I'm excited to see what he does in that offense this year. I mean, Kaiser likes to run the football. They like to have a featured back, and Jaden Miller, for all intents and purposes, right now looks to be that guy.
Yeah, he's a dynamic player. Like you said, had to fill in. When oh goodness gracious, young man last year that got hurt. Meisinger, thank you. Meisinger got hurt. And he stepped in and was just tremendous. They had like 3 great running backs in that program last year, and Miller was kind of emerged as the guy, one of the main guys there when Meisinger got hurt. So and you see some of these other guys, Jason, guys have been established for a long time coming back. Darius Neal, I think this is year 5 for him as well. Has been in the program there a long time. Has been a stalwart there. Then Ryan Whitwell, what a physical player he is. Keegan LaBelle, I recruited Keegan back many years ago. It seems like he's been married forever too. Not a flashy player, physical player downhill. I know you're not quite to Gunnar Yates yet, but I love watching Gunnar Yates, man. What a fun player to watch. Runs behind his pads, tackle to tackle, just physical. One of those guys you can carry the ball, 30 times and seem to get stronger with every carry late in games. So yeah, this is a fun group, and there's some throwback guys in there, Jason. There's some guys with some flash. It's kind of a good combination of things, but it's a talented group, and definitely some cool throwback guys, the type of players that you love for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I didn't rate any of these, 1 through 9, 1 through 10 at any of the position levels. But again, this is a list here where I have no problem saying who I think is the number 1 at this position group, and that's the guy at the bottom of the list, Gunnar Yates, Southern Oregon. I think he's top running back in the country. He's going to have to prove to me otherwise. He's going to carry more of the load, I think, early in the season this year, as Southern Oregon, is going to have a new starting quarterback. They lose a little bit at wide receiver, so they're going to have to rely on somebody. They're going to rely on Yates. And I like their chances. I like their chances when you got to, we got to rely on a running back. How is he? He's the best in the country. Okay, we should be okay.
Yeah, with all these guys, though, staying healthy, Jason, it's such a physical position. They get tackled every play, Jason. They touch the ball typically, unless, obviously it's untouched the end zone, but they get tackled a lot. And there's some miles in the tires with these guys, but just a great group. Hopefully they can stay healthy because they are fun to watch.
Maybe a little bit of an unknown on this list, Tyson Dinkert out of Midland. He's been a mainstay in their offense for a number of years. Midland, I think, has had 9 straight winning season for the Warriors. And the last couple of years with having kind of a mainstay on the offense on the running back side with Dinkert, that certainly helped him as they try to take another step this year. We get set to take another step to the next position. We're not at quarterback yet. I know everybody's probably yelling, like, get to the quarterbacks. You're going in alphabetical order. You jumped over them. Yeah, we're saving them for last. That's how we are. It's a tease. It's an old radio thing that I've got, Pat. Go to tight end. Not an exhaustive list, but a very solid list. Some really good ones here. Blake Lamb, All-American last year. Tanner Zimmerman, an honorable mention All-American. Same with Ochoa from Carroll College. He's right on there. And then Busey and Whiting from Briarcliff and Campbellsville. Tight end, to me, always kind of like the unsung hero. They typically don't have a million receiving yards. They got to do some blocking. They got to do a lot of other things to get themselves into ball games. Solid list here of tight ends coming back in NAIA.
Yeah, it's a versatile group too, Jason. These guys are used a lot of different ways. I really like Zimmerman, what Benedictine does with him, and Ochoa with Carroll, and does a lot of things. Again, run game, viable, weapon in the receiving game as well. So tight ends are hard to find at any level. Like I talked about DBs, to me, they're the 2 hardest positions to find, to be honest with you, because of the skill set needed to play the position and all the things required. So, these tight ends are the top of the group here, and looking forward to their contributions this season.
Yeah, what I always want to do with tight ends, when they're a senior, I want to interview and be like, okay, what position did you come in as? Because there's very few that are you a converted tackle, or were you a tall wide receiver that we put weight on, or were you a defensive end that came back to the offensive side of the ball? Like I think there's very few guys in the NAIA that are just tight end all the way.
And so many times too, Jason, the tight ends that come in as tight ends or end up playing on the other side of the ball, playing defensive end, defensive tackle, whatever it may be. So they're athletic dudes. So, tight ends are hard to find, especially at the NAIA level, because it seems like if they're above 6'4", they're going to get gobbled up if they're athletic. at a higher level. So a lot of times your NAIA tight ends, much like the offensive linemen, are going to be 6 feet, 6'1", 6'2" guys. They're not going to be your 6'6", 6'7", big tight end, Gronk type guys. So those are the big time guys. But NAIA is great football players, just a little bit shorter usually at that position.
Yeah. 6'3", 180 freshman wide receiver coming in. You're a little slow step. Guess what? We're putting weight on, buddy.
215-pound tight end by junior year, buddy.
Can you get that reach? Can you get that reach around the edge there? All right. We got a position for you. We go to wide receiver, where some of those tight ends may have converted from. We've got a good group, 2 pages coming of them here. I look at Graceland. I look at Gerald Monroe. I look at the numbers he's put up. I look at what he puts on film. You probably could argue is the best of this group coming back. And a lot of that offense for the Yellow Jackets is going to run through him this year. But some other guys on here, solid wide receivers as well. Mauricio Portia, a chance to kind of be the featured wide receiver in that Kaiser offense. You got Toki at Grandview, and of course Isaac Smith at Indiana Wesleyan. He is back this year. All these guys, big playmakers, and a good opportunity to make a name for themselves this year.
Yeah, this is one of those groups where I think there's going to be some new names, obviously, that emerge by midseason. I'm sure there's going to be some transfer guys in. There's a lot of guys that were great last year that graduated, I thought. But yeah, look, a guy like Toki, had 2 huge touchdowns in the national championship. It was really tremendous in their playoff run to the national championship for Grandview. Portia, like you mentioned, give him a lot of credit. There's rumors that he was looking maybe portal, I heard, and stayed. At Kaiser is going to make another impact in that offense and, making another deep playoff run to a national championship, hopefully for them. Great player, dynamic player, and, was very sought after at higher levels. So there's some great players there, but again, I think it's going to be a thing where, these guys and a whole other group are going to emerge by, about midway through the year. These names are going to pop up with great production and, making a name for themselves, certainly.
Yeah, a lot of it is the offense and the guy that's going to be able to sling it to him. One of these guys on this 2-page list, they lose a quarterback. Again, all of a sudden their numbers might not be as good as what they were a year ago. We go to the second page of the wide receivers. You got the Richard Kidd at Marion, Torgerson at Montana Tech, Norse, Montana Western, Drew Sellen at Morningside. Morningside fans would probably argue with me that he is probably the best wide receiver in the country. A guy with a lot of yards, a lot of catches, a lot of touchdowns last year. Gerard out of Northwestern, Holthusen out of Southwestern, and then David Hayes at St. Thomas. Also one you could argue could be the top guy in the country. Solid group here, man.
Yeah, to me, it'd be Hayes is right there. And I do think Sellen is a big-time player. Those 2 guys we watched a lot of last year with the amount of games we watched those programs and the big games that they played that we had to, we followed. Both those guys incredibly dynamic. Got a little more familiarity with those 2 than some others. But yeah, it's a solid group. Worthy top 99.
100%, sir. I think I'm losing your signal a little bit on that end.
How are you?
You're getting a little weak. You're getting a little fuzzy on me here.
You got me now?
Okay. I got you now. There we go.
Yeah. Just
what you said, I'm sure, was the most impactful thing you ever tried to say.
Yeah, right. No, just saying, a couple of those guys that we've got pretty good familiarity with, Sellen, Hayes, dynamic players. Just really excited about those guys going into, I believe both their senior year, if I'm not mistaken, Jason. Big time players.
That's it, isn't it? That's the list. We can wrap her up, call it a show, right? Right?
Just the most important position in sports, Jason. That's it. That's all that's left.
Let's get to the NAIA quarterbacks. Here's the list, ladies and gentlemen. Solid list here. Only a singular page, mind you, but I had to draw the line. I started getting further down the list, and I was like, you know what? We got some guys that I want them to prove it a little bit more this year. Here's who I'm going with. And that second guy down is such a playmaker. The returning NAIA Player of the Year, Jackson Waring from Grandview. That guy gets a lot of things done on the field, running and throwing it.
Yeah, I want to see how he's deployed this year because, again, he's so valuable. We watched the progression throughout the year. They kind of held him back in the run game so much of the regular season. Kind of almost flew under the radar if you can be that player as a national player of the year. But he really emerged at being the player that he ended up becoming and showcasing to the entire country in the playoffs because they unleashed him to his full complement of talent. So as a runner and obviously as a passer as well. So Waring is that true dual threat guy, big, strong, physical guy, obviously national championship quarterback, player of the year. But how is he going to be used? I'm anxious to see, kind of the approach. If it's, it's his final year, do they unleash him the entire year? They're anticipating, I'm sure, another deep run like they've experienced the last handful of years, obviously last year, winning it all. How are they going to use him? Because he is obviously the straw that stirs the drink for the Viking offense. But, man, he is such a weapon in so many ways. That +1 running game is absolutely essential to their offensive success. And Waring is the man.
Yeah, you look at this list and you can kind of group guys together a little bit. I put Dooley in the same group as Waring, kind of a dual threat guy, throws it around the field, big leader for the Benedictine Ravens. I put Dooley in that group, and he's a guy that could really lead Benedictine far this year. That's kind of where I think of him. As a dual role. And then you've got guys that are just absolute slingers out there. Palandri is a guy that's going to run the football, but he can sling it as well, along with Zach Chevalier at Morningside and Luke Guerin at Ottawa, Arizona. Like those guys, I think, are slingers. I probably put Gillis in there as a bit of a slinger as well. Just solid quarterbacks there. And then I hate the term game manager. I think of it as efficient quarterbacks. That's where I put like Shea Spencer, Keely Watson, Carson Rogers. I kind of throw them into that group, but being guys that are just super efficient, super leaders of their team, guys that don't make a lot of mistakes out there. I think there's different groupings of this group, but who else stands out for you, Pat?
Well, they're also valuable. Again, I look at Dooley, who I think had such a tremendous playoff run. I mean, one of the greatest games maybe ever in the NAIA history with Benedictine Kaiser in the semifinals last year. I thought Dooley was brilliant in that game. It was just one of those things. We talked about, I think it was 3 touchdowns, Jason, in 7 minutes that Kaiser had to score to come back and win that game. But Benedictine's offense in particular, and Jackson Dooley were absolutely brilliant in that game and great all season. I think he's one of those guys that may be as valuable to his team as anyone. Obviously, it's a quarterback. I mean, it's a pretty obvious statement, but he really is. I mean, he's a winner, Jason. He understands that system. Great distributor of the ball. Just did so much for that team last year. And I feel the same way about Shea Spencer. I mean, as good as Kaiser has been, I think Shea coming back last season really took that offense to another level because he was such a distributor. And then, can use his legs when necessary to extend plays. But what a competitor, what a winner. I think he and Dooley are just, if I can just give them just a cliche term, they're just winners. They understand their system. They're competitors. They're so valuable and understand their systems front to back. And like you said, Palandri and Chevalier, big numbers guys. They're going to throw the football down the field. Again, chuck it all over the yard, do it very, very efficiently in those systems. Expect huge years from both of those guys, no question. And then, a guy like Gillis, who I think is a tough guy, it has to do a lot in their system and some of the run-pass option stuff. They've got to keep him upright, Jason. He did take a lot of shots last year, and he is so important to the Tiger offense. They've got to do a better job protecting him. They're going to get a great test for week 1 against the St. Francis Cougars up here in Fort Wayne, who have a great defense coming back, great pass rushers. And he's going to be tested right away. But he's a guy that got to keep upright and healthy because he is a huge, huge part of that team. And again, when he was out last year, Jason, it was noticeable.
100%. I look at a guy like Chevalier Morningside, returning leading passer in the country. He's got a lot of weapons to throw the ball to. If there's anything we found from him last year in some of those big games, maybe decision making, maybe a bad throw, maybe a ball that gets tipped and picked off that kind of changed the course of the game. Those are things that Coach Ryan is working with him on the offseason and that he's going to get better at. And I'm excited to see the progression of Chevalier into this year and what he's going to be like at quarterback. And then I see 3 quarterbacks on here that are really on teams that are in prove-it mode this year. Guerin, Watson, and Rogers. They're quarterbacking teams that are right on the verge, that want to take the next step, that want to prove that they're an elite program. And a lot of that, not to put it on the quarterback, but it goes on the quarterback. A lot of that's going to come through what they provide as leadership, what they provide in hot situations. They got a lot of things flying around them. How do they perform in those situations? They've all got a chance to step up and do some pretty significant things for their programs this fall.
The good news for all three, Jason, they've got great weapons with them. So they're going to have some unbelievable talent to distribute the ball to. So I couldn't agree more. I mean, those three guys kind of that prove-it group because the programs are. And they're a talented group. And, again, on that cusp, we've talked about it before, kind of that next tier after that top, 5, 6, or 7, that next tier of those teams. All three of those guys are kind of in that category. So the good news is, watching these teams play last year on our huddle film, there are some weapons coming back, and there's some guys to get the ball to, certainly.
Yeah. And controversial statement of this program, and some coaches are going to hear me say this and say, dude, don't give them any more firepower. You could argue Jackson Waring is not the best quarterback on this list. I think if some people could come forward and say, well, yeah, he was he did the most things for his team. He had a great performance in the national championship game and down the stretch. He's a pretty good quarterback, but for pure quarterbacking, I like this guy
Mm-hmm.
in it. So I could see where some people could make that argument. Now, put that on a bulletin board somewhere, and some opposing coaches are going to be mad at me probably for saying that. But I think you could argue, like, just from a quarterback perspective, what we think of in an offense to sling it around the field, he's probably not the number one guy, but in a dual role like he plays, yeah, he's probably the best athlete to have in that position and to put him in those situations.
He's certainly the most physical of the group, I think. He's a physical specimen. He's 225, 230 pounds, 6'3". So he looks the part. He looks like a linebacker. It's carrying the football and football. That's what he looks like. And some of these other guys, like you mentioned, like the Chevalier kid is a passer. Palandri is a passer. And again, beautiful throw of the football. And I think Dooley's guys I've watched a lot that are just guys I would love to coach. As I'm a passing game guy. I want the ball delivered on time. I want it accurate. Those are the things that I like to watch. And there's some of these other guys again, and Spencer is the same way. Spencer's a great decision maker, knows their system, and he's just one of those guys. We gave him high praise last year that he looked right to Tyler Emmett. I mean, he really did. As a competitor, as a winner, you're not the most impressive physically when you look at him, but man, does he get the job done. And again, these guys, the common thread, Jason, is it's the most important position in sports. They understand their system so well. I mean, again, you see the decision speed, you see. Just a handle of what they're doing, because these offenses are so complex now. They really are. And all of these offenses, these teams are complex. And there's a lot on these guys to do it, whether it's, from a decision-making standpoint, where it's a physical standpoint, like Waring, for instance. They're asked to do a lot. And again, it is the most important position in sports, and there's a lot on these guys' shoulders, and they flourish in their system.
Yeah, great names on this list. I'm looking forward to watching them play. Really, Keely Watson's a guy at St. Thomas that I think had a great year last year, has a great target, and David
Great
Hayes
weapon
to throw the ball to. Super excited to see what they do this year. Yeah, all these guys. You could go through wide receiver, quarterback, running back combos, how they're going to do it. Yeah, we could talk for an entire another hour on this, but we kind of like to keep the program to some extent, tight. Try to have a singular subject that we do these things on and not get too far out of the way on what we're talking about. But that's the list, Pat. 99 of the top football players in NAIA football.
It's great stuff. It's really good way to promote these guys, because it is a great group. And again, there's going to be some guys that emerge like we talked about. But this is the group that has been established, has been NAIA players. So many of these guys, like I mentioned, a couple guys, sticking around, playing another year, whether it's, opportunity to go elsewhere or sticking around to finish their last year of eligibility at their school. So I really commend so many of these guys sticking with it. I mean, goodness, Darius Neal's been at Georgetown forever,
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys like that. It's great to see, Keegan LaBelle and, Marion, this guy's been around forever. So it's really great to see, and great players. And like you said, like I'm anxious to see Chevalier, another year of experience under his belt. Now he's going to develop. Palandri coming back after a huge season. Can the Bulldogs take another step with his, great talent and offensive production? How's Grandview going to use Waring? Yeah, I'm anxious to see those things. And, can't forget about the defenses as well. Some tremendous groups. So it's going to be great. I tell you what, really excited and anxious to talk about some early season matchups in our next show, whenever that may occur. Looking forward to that. Man, some really good early season match. We talked about Benedict and Morningside, talk about Indiana Wesleyan and Kaiser. Looking forward to that. St. Francis, Indiana, and Campbellsville. I think some really great early season matchups.
Yeah. We talk about all these teams, and we talk about all the positives, but then how do teams respond with an injury? Injuries happen in NAIA football, as we know. So what happens if one of those guys on that list goes down? How's the team respond? I'm so looking forward to the season. As always, Pat and I will be back on every Sunday night once the regular season starts, and of course leading into the season the Sunday beforehand, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central. I'm doing this thing, Pat, where I'm trying to get my camera to refocus on me, and I was trying to not just put my face up there and then slowly come back so it would stay focused on me. But I had to do that. Sorry.
You look good, buddy. Look so
thanks,
fit,
man.
Svelte. Look at you.
Dropping some LBs. Go back to that first show we did and look how fat my face was.
Like mine now. Yeah, right.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm not into
giant head, man. I get it. You look good.
I'm not into comparing myself to others. I'm looking to get the best version of myself out there. And
I'm just happy we both have hair at our age.
Well, depending on how far back I lean, you can kind of see how that's doing for me. We're talking NAIA. But getting back to the NAIA football thing, Sunday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, Pat and I will be back. We like to keep it at the same time every week so you know how to check it out. Or if you miss it on Sunday night, you got a full week then to see the program, whether it be on YouTube or checking it out on X or on Facebook, wherever you may be checking it out. And this year, you will be able to check it out on the Urban Edge Network. We are simulcast. We've got our this going out on the Urban Edge Network right now. All of our shows will be on Urban Edge. They'll be on demand. So I highly suggest that you go out, download the Urban Edge app, get it on your phone, get it on your tablet. If you've got Roku, or if you've got some of the different, streaming things, they've got an app that you can download, watch it on your 80-inch big screen that you got in your basement. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get the Urban Edge Network. And a great thing for the NAI, this is the Urban Edge Network and what they are doing for NAI sports is tremendous. And I don't want to go into the Wayback Machine, but this was kind of what vision of the Victory Sports Network was 20 years ago when we started going out, streaming games, doing all this, having a free service so people could check out NAI athletics. And I think the NAI a couple of years ago, they found out, during basketball season, when they went to broadcast the championships, that their paid service wasn't working. So they had to put them out there for free. And what happened? They had tremendous audiences. And we saw that last year at the national championship game, couple 100,000 views.
A $250,000,000.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
It's like
they did a great job. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I thought our national championship looked tremendous. And again, it was highly viewed. And again, that's kudos to the Urban Edge Network. Really excited. Get some big time games even on that network early season. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, one of their early season clashes that they've got is going to be Benedictine and Morningside. A couple other games they got lined up. So be checking into the Victory Sports Network. We'll have updates on that, or obviously check out the Urban Edge Network and their programming. You can check out fine programming like Pat Donley and Jason Dannelly now on the Urban Edge Network until they probably watch this program and then they go,
that's pretty good.
Delete. It's fun.
Top of the line NAI football coverage.
That's what we try to do around here. We try to make it good. But this is one of those programs where you and I didn't get a chance really to get into like a whole bunch of other stuff before the program and all that. So we got a few minutes before we need to wrap things up here. I don't know if you want to talk NAI football or if you got some other off the wall subject you want to throw at me as we kind of wrap up the show here. But what's on your mind, Pat?
I'm looking forward to football because this is kind of the slow time of the year. I'm looking forward to, kids start school next week, Jason.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, I'm in school. So it's going to be one of those things where, summer's over, back in school, college classes are starting here. Football's coming real soon. Looking forward to football because we need it in our lives. As good Americans, we got to have football, man, in our lives. We're desperate for it. It's time for it. We miss it.
Preseason and fall camp videos and preseason NFL only takes you so far in this world. We need real games that matter, like a Thursday night, 6 o'clock game between Marion and the University of Indianapolis as we kick off the NAIA football season. That first weekend, man, there are some crazy good games in NAIA football and some early season games that have really got me excited. And we'll talk more about those as we get into the season. But man, I tell you what, there are some non-conference games happening this year where I take my hat off to some of these NAIA football coaches and say, good job, fellas. Good job going out and getting a game that everybody wanted. We wanted to see a game like that, and you were able to get it done.
No question. I mean, again, it's easy to say, okay, we're going to find a cupcake somewhere and pay him maybe a guarantee to come over and play and beat up on him. No, we're not getting that. We're getting top of the line. We saw it the last couple of years, and we're certainly seeing it again here early season non-conference. Jason, there's even flights involved, long trips, going across country to see some of these, these teams compete. I think it's fantastic. It's great for the NAIA. Again, looking at 2 top 5 teams, playing in the first game of the year on the Urban Edge Network, tip your cap to them, because easily those guys could say, hey, man, we both could go undefeated, find an easier non-conference game and, kind of pat our way to the playoffs. But no, they're going head-to-head, and it's a fantastic thing for the NAIA. And, again, they've built certainly a great rivalry. And, you see, Kaiser taking the flight up to the Central Indiana to play Indiana Wesleyan. Tip your cap to them. They didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
It's much easier to stay in Florida and bring someone in to play a home game or travel somewhere in your own state. No, they're jumping on a flight. I'm assuming Indianapolis or Florida, and then heading down to Marion, Indiana to play Indiana Wesleyan. It's going to be a great game. Looking forward to that. Texas Wesleyan, Lindsey Wilson, another great one. Some really good matchups. So I like you said, I tip my cap to them as well. These coaches, ADs, who's ever involved in it, making it happen. Good on you. Tremendous to make this happen, to create some sense, a really great early season buzz in the NAIA.
Yeah, just real quick, like week 0 games. Pat and I will get into the top early season NAIA games and probably the next show, but just week 0 games: Montana Western at Montana Tech, Texas Wesleyan at Lindsey Wilson, Morningside at Benedictine, Campbellsville at St. Francis, Indiana, Kaiser at Indiana Wesleyan, and Pikeville at Georgetown. Like, fantastic. You could argue those are all playoff games. No doubt. Like, oh, the playoffs are on the line, you got to win this game. But like, if you came out with the first week of the playoff schedule and said these are the matchups, I go, okay, cool. Yeah, because those are all playoff caliber teams that are playing in that on week 0. And then you get into week 1, you got Benedictine and Grandview, Montana Tech, Carroll. I mean, we could go on forever. We're not going to. We got to keep the show to a watchable time period. We've probably even gone over that by now.
It's good stuff. It is the best time of the year, and it's going to be exciting here in the coming weeks. Excited to talk. Spend another year with you, Jason, talking about this great sport and great affiliation. Can't wait. Going to be a lot of fun.
I feel so much more of a good friend to you during football season, because we get talk every week. We get out of the season, and all of a sudden it's like, it's been 2 months since I talked to Pat. Oh, I haven't talked to Pat for a while. Wonder what's going on there. And finally, sitting like typical, guy friendship. 2 months later, send a text. Hey man, want to do a show? I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. The good thing is, Jason, we spend a lot of time away from the show. We always pick it right back up. Like, we spend every day together, like we're working in the office or something like that. So go back a long time. It was fun. Got to see you this summer, like we talked about in earlier shows this summer, but it's good and good to get back into the flow and, spend some time every week. So looking forward to it.
As always, the Victory Sports Network's NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley is made possible by Huddle. We thank Huddle for their ability to give us game film each and every week, and also by the Urban Edge Network. Be sure to download the Urban Edge Network app on your smartphone, on your television, on your tablet, and be able to watch some NAIA football. Pat, any last thoughts before we wrap things up?
No. Going to be really, really excited here the next couple of weeks. Again, just a lot of fun coming down the pike, and look forward to another great football season, Jason. Thank you again for bringing me along.
I'm excited for it, man. I'm getting juiced up for it, and this is going to be awesome. I can't wait for all the fallout tomorrow and everybody to tell me that I'm an idiot on the NAIA 99, but that's how it goes. I've taken those bullets for 20-some years, and that's good. Prove me wrong. We got the entire NAIA football season for you to do it.
The plight of the media, I tell you, Jason.
Yes. Yeah, if you missed the list, it of course will be live on the Victory Sports Network. You can check it out there. That's what we got for you. He is Pat Donley. I am Jason Dannelly. This has been NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley from the Victory Sports Network. Have a great week, everyone.